So we're making wheat bread today. We're super excited about this. It's one of our favorite things to do. We do it every week and we save a ton of money. And the wheat bread tastes wonderful. So I brought my wife with me today. She's going to kind of talk about the ingredients and how we do this.
Okay, the first ingredient that we need is oil. We also have some wheat or dough enhancer, and dough enhancer increases dough strength and improves the flavor. You can get this at the store. It's about $2.50. The other thing that we have right here is wheat gluten, and wheat gluten is actually wheat flour with the starch taken out. It also helps with the elasticity and the flavor of the bread. This is about $2.99. I bought these together. They've been great. Our bread calls for honey. This is the honey that we got from an all-natural honey farm. It has nothing whipped into it. I use it in the smaller jars so it doesn't harden up. We love it. You need salt. You also need yeast, of course. And we also have our fresh, hard wheat, red wheat kernels. Now this is our mill. It's called the Wonder Mill. We love it. We just got it a couple months ago. It's known to be the quietest mill in the world. We can have conversations while it's running, and it's great. We haven't had any problems with it, and let's get started. This is our wheat mill, all set up, ready to go. As you can see, there's 3 different settings. We've only ever used the bread, and we've been very happy with it. And then there's a pipe. It grinds in here. There's a pipe, and all of the wheat flour goes into this bucket, and it can unattach, so we can use it. The reason why we use wheat is because it's much healthier than white. Also, the thing you have to be aware of with the wheat flour is that after you grind it, it only keeps its nutritional value for about 2 weeks. So you want to use the flour up pretty quickly. I always put in about 6 cups for the recipe, this bread recipe that I used. As you can see, it's not very loud, and it goes fairly quickly. I'm going to make sure this is all even, ready to go. Alright, our wheat is all ground. Let's open it up and see how it looks. I'm going to undo this pipe right here and open this up. Looks great.
Wow, that does look great. Look how smooth that wheat is.
Bang this off a little bit. There's a little bit extra in here.
That was just changed from this into flour. That works awesome.
The nice thing I like about this mill is that this is as light as air. You can hardly even, it has almost no density. It's very, very fine. It does a good job with grinding up this wheat. Very fine. I love it. So I have my KitchenAid here on the counter. I love it. It works great. The first step in this process of making our wheat bread is I put in 5 cups of warm water. And you want this to be in between hot and warm, where it's almost like a bath water. Pour this in. I don't want it to spill everywhere, which is why I took off the container. I also put in 2/3 cup oil, and if you put the oil in first, it helps with the honey, which comes next. Just have the perfect amount there. 2/3 cup right here. Dump that in. And I'm going to open up this jar of our honey. We got it at a farm in Idaho. Great price. Great honey. I'm very happy with it. Alright, so let's pour in 2/3 cup of honey. And it doesn't have to be perfect, so if you get a little bit more or a little bit less, that's just fine. There we go. Alright, let's dump this in. Because we put the oil in, the honey comes out pretty good. The last couple drizzles of that. Alright, let's hook this up to the KitchenAid, get it mixed a little bit. want to add 5 cups of your whole wheat, just ground flour. Alright, this is the last cup that we need to have in this mixture. As that's mixing, I combined in this bowl 2 rounded tablespoons wheat gluten, 2 rounded tablespoons dough enhancer, 2 rounded tablespoons yeast, and 2 tablespoons that are not rounded salt. As you can see in here, this is starting to get mixed up pretty good. I'm going to start adding these 4 ingredients into this mixture. Let's get that mixed up. Okay, let's let that mix for a minute. Here we are, ready for the next step in our dough process. I always kind of get my spatula here. If there's any flour on the sides of this, I carefully scrape it down so it can all get mixed in. The next step in our process is we start adding the flour to make it a dough-like substance. I'm going to put this on lock because it's going to start wanting to bounce up with the added flour. We want to add enough flour in the mixture until it starts really, really coming away from the sides. It's going to be pretty sticky, and you're going to see some moving away from the sides to the center, but we want it to be thicker and more like bread dough. We're about halfway through this process. And what I usually do, you don't have to if you don't want to, but because this flour is so fine, it takes more to make it into bread-like substance. So I will add 1 cup wheat flour and then 1 cup white flour, just to add some heaviness. I usually do about 6 extra cups of flour before it gets ready to be done. Alright, I'm going to add another cup of white flour. You can see it's starting to kind of spread out and be sticky again. As you can see, it's pulling away good from the sides. It's thicker. It's not so sticky. I finished off the rest of my wheat flour. In total, I've done about 4 cups wheat flour and 2 cups white flour to add some thickness because this is so fine. The next step that I need to do is let this mix for 6 minutes. So it's been 6 minutes. This is ready to go. See how that is, the elasticity of the bread looks great. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to get this cleaned off a little bit before I take it out. Here's our dough. Let's get this in the sink. What I usually do is get some flour and put it on this counter here. You can also use oil or vegetable spray, any kind of spray actually, it all would work fine. I prefer flour. I want to get it in a big circle here because this dough is still sticky and it's going to spread when I dump it out. This looks great. Alright. This is a tool my husband got for me. At first I didn't think it was a very good tool, but then I started making bread and I love it. It's a non-stick, kind of like a scraper slash knife slash whatever you want it to do, it'll do. So I'm getting this mixed up in the flour to lessen the stickiness. Okay, this is looking great. Now, what I'm going to do next is break this up. Let's get a little bit more flour on the counter. I'm going to break this up into 3 equal as possible as I can balls, so I can work on one at a time. I'm going to take my bread pans here. I'm going to get some spray, have it over here, and get this ready. So when I'm done kneading it, it will be ready for the dough to go in. Let's get started. I grew up making bread for my family and was so tired of it by the time I moved out that I vowed I would never make homemade bread again. And for years, we had white bread from the store. But as our kids are getting older, I wanted to have something healthier for them with more substance. Let's get it kneaded, get it pliable, need a little bit more flour, it's getting kind of sticky. Okay, when it starts to get to where I want to get it ready for putting in the pan, I try to fold it up a little bit, pinch all the sides together, and then fold it under like that. Shake this around. There, another loaf that looks great. It's okay if it doesn't fit perfectly in the loaf pan, because it still needs to rise, and as it does that, it will fit in all of the spaces that it didn't really fit in very well to begin with. This is my last and probably my biggest loaf. Let's get this kneaded. Okay. Let's start getting this ready for the pan. A little more flour here. It's getting sticky. Okay, I'm going to pinch all these corners together and tuck it under, just like that. Easy peasy. I'm going to scrape this up with my scraper, stick it in, shake it around. There we go. Loaf number 3. Looks great. The next step that needs to be done with this bread is it needs to rise for a good 30 minutes. Alright, it's been 30 minutes. Here's our bread. It's risen. You can see it's almost to the top of the pans right here.
Wow, they look great.
Looks great. The next step that we do is we turn our oven to 350. Mine's starting right now. We put them in and we cook it for 30 minutes. And we'll let you see the finished product when it's done. I just took the bread out of the oven. Looks great. Smells great. Look how awesome that looks. The last and final step to making your bread delicious is getting some butter and rubbing it across the top. This helps seal it. This makes it taste awesome. And it will be so good.
Okay, I hope everyone who's watching remembers that you guys can make the difference. You can make your own wheat bread, you can use your food storage, you can be self-reliant, and you can provide for your own family.